The name Will Steger now stands listed among the great explorers of the world. The National Geographic Society ranks Steger with aviation's Amelia Earhart, polar exploration's Robert Peary and Roald Amundsen, and the ocean's Jacques Cousteau, and has named him its first explorer in residence. Discovery began early for Will. At the age of 15, he took a motorboat from Minneapolis, Minnesota, down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. A quarter of a century later, after putting up numerous first descents of mountains around the world, Will turned his attention to his first love, the frozen polar ice. He led the first confirmed journey to the North Pole by dog sled without resupply. 3 years later, he led the first dog sled traverse of the continent of Antarctica. The International Trans-Antarctica Expedition was a torturous 3,471 miles in 7 months. 5 years after that, Will led the International Arctic Project, a 1,200-mile first-ever crossing of the Arctic Ocean from Russia to Ellesmere Island in Canada. In 2004, he led a 6-member team on the Arctic Transect, a 3,000-mile, 7-month educational expedition of Nunavut, Canada. And Will continued his educational effort with his Global Warming 101 expedition in Baffin Island above the Arctic Circle. His team included 3 Inuit members, Sir Richard Branson, and 6-time Everest summiter Ed Viesturs. As Will Steger matured, the dreams of being the first to summit or the first to raise a flag on a piece of terra incognita became less important.
I'm John Unland, a Wayland Academy alum. Will Steger, a friend of mine and an internationally renowned Arctic explorer, has agreed to be a part of our new environmental science program at Wayland. His unparalleled experiences of exploration and scientific knowledge of the Arctic and Antarctica will be invaluable in structuring the section of our program focused on these regions of our planet. Enjoy this short clip to learn more about Will and the greater meaning of this unique program at Wayland.
Why do we explore? Not you specifically,
Yeah.
but we as a species. Why do we do this?
Well, as a species, of course, we're curious. And we're fascinated about what's around the next corner. I think there's a fascination about the unknown. You want to find the unknown, and the unknown can be reaching the North Pole for the first time. It could be some research you're doing on the internet. But essentially exploration, whatever you're exploring, it's actually an exploration of yourself because you're learning. It's really the learning process.
Yeah.
We find out about ourselves and the depths of ourselves through exploring and by challenging something that's unknown. I've been on expeditions, or major expeditions now, for 35 years, and each expeditions I've done have been a platform for environmental, usually education. And but in 1986, I led a team of 8 people, 50 dogs, unsupported to the North Pole. And back at that time, no one had ever traveled unsupported, and all the authorities said you could never do it. So I figured I could do this. This was a personal best. So,
Yeah.
But it was my first really major national, international expedition. I put together this team. We left on March 8th, 1986. I remember the date because it was 72 below zero that day. And then it was 500 miles across the Arctic Ocean to the pole. But the ice on the Arctic Ocean is moving by currents.
Yeah.
And you've got ice, and the ice is opening, jumbled up big
Yeah.
pressure ridges. I mean, the most torturous surface on the planet.
Yeah.
And the Antarctic expedition was 1989-90. We pulled together an incredible team of explorers. Our average ages were 40. We came from 6 of the most powerful nations. The purpose was the preservation of Antarctica, the treaty. But the Antarctica was going, in 1990, with the treaty, the Antarctica was going to be opened up for mineral exploration, which would be the beginning of the end of Antarctica. And that's where we did the international team. Daho was from China, Keizo was from Japan, Victor Boyarsky, Soviet Union, John Louis Etienne from France, Jeff Summers, Great Britain, myself from the United States. And our 6 countries were the main. There's 27 treaty nations, but those 6 countries really had and that represented half the world, or more than half the world at that time. But we had this incredible international team, 30 dogs. It ended up taking us 7 months, 221 days to travel 3,700 miles, the longest possible route. I don't think anyone even imagined that route.
You did that
before
intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally. Yeah,
intentionally
I mean,
go
I looked
look.
at the map of Antarctica,
Yeah.
and I drew a line across the longest possible, and said, "This is what I wanted to do." So I saw it as a once of a lifetime going down with dogs. So I really wanted the experience. My philosophy of education is always very simple: is that you bring out the curiosity of the person or the student, and once you have that curiosity, you just simply add content. You know, at Wayland, the school there, you're very fortunate to have this incredibly large marsh. I mean, it's just like, it's huge.
Yeah.
And the migrations there, it's almost like the far Arctic in that area. When the migration comes, all of a sudden there's nothing, and then the migration starts, and then the migration comes back. It's a great place to explore.
You know, experiential learning and that type of thing, which is what you've done your whole life.
Yeah, it's hands-on, and a lot of it's teacher-student, that one-to-one, and that's the advantage at Wayland there. You're outside, you have great teachers, you're living together as a community, which is really important.
Yeah.
And you have that one-to-one relationship, and you have that relationship also community, individual, and very important with nature around you.
Yeah, and I think that's the Horican Marsh value, is to get them out. We're going to be working with the Cornell University Lab of Ornithology, tracking birds, just like you said.
What I would highly suggest, to do some research and get in touch with some of the scientists doing the work.
Yeah.
You can
Which is possible now.
You can
Yeah.
interface. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in the internet, and
Yeah.
and if you're hungry for knowledge, the scientist, a person, of course, that does climatology, and they'll connect with you.
Yeah.
I mean, the wetlands like you have at school there inspired so many naturalists, like Leopold in Wisconsin. Although Leopold was Sand County Almanac was a famous book of his, and
Well, that's interesting, because that's going to be a big part of the course of the study, is his book.
Interesting.
And he's
Yeah.
from Baraboo.
Yeah.
And they have their, I think it's a foundation, or
Yeah, they
all
do.
their materials, and the whole history of him is there. And that book is going to be a big part of the
okay.
Horican Marsh freshwater Wisconsin study.
Yeah.
Geology, glaciology, and the birds. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
That's-
so
that's
that was
ironic.
important to you.
yeah, very important to me.
Yeah.
When I came down here, I used my story of adventure, and then the first-hand eyewitness of showing this open ocean where it was ice, and we dog sled, and here we are canoeing on it. But then about 7 years ago is when everything changed, because we started to see the changes, in real time in our lives here in the United States. And that's when people started to get it a little bit more. It touched home, because everybody now has a climate story.
Yeah.
I mean,
Where they live.
where they live.
Yeah.
And the story is, story is how we communicate. There's no denial within the young people.
Yeah.
You don't see it. I mean, they get it. They know it. It's their life.
Yeah.
I mean, the younger people are getting more vocal, but they have to get even more vocal. I mean, Wayland, I know you center there. But that's where the exploration is. That's the curiosity. You get the curiosity and doing something and purposeful, but then it's your livelihood. Your livelihood is where you make your living, but you do your service. You're doing something that is purposeful to yourself and to the world, which is very important. One reason why the Antarctic project that we're going to make here at Wayland, why it's so important, because it's relevant. Because right now, the ice shelves are breaking up. Everything's happening in Antarctica. But also there's a political issues always, because the treaty will be up for review again in about 24 years, which is part of the younger generation. I mean, they first have to know about it, but studying this treaty is remarkable. I mean, it's a study of treaties, diplomacy, environmentalism. I mean,
How it works.
and how it worked, and it's the best example we ever have had of international cooperation, beginning in the Cold War up to today, through Antarctica, and so it's a remarkable treaty. It's a remarkable environment. It's an environment that's going to change everybody's life. Everybody at Wayland that are young, mark my word, they're going to see the sea level rise, everything, and it's going to be the ice caps that will be the dominant. I want to say to the folks and the students and teachers and faculty at Wayland, this is a great program that you're doing on Antarctica, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Well, I want to ask you a question. Would you come and see us?
I'll see you next year.
I love it. All right, my
I
friend.
will.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it.
It's on the camera.
Yeah, it's on the camera. All right. Thank you, Will. You're
Yeah.
amazing. Just one of history's great explorers.
I do think that part of our mission would be to make sure that the policies are adhered to through education and involvement. It all has to do with social engagement. If we're more socially engaged, we're going to be in really good shape. The time is crucial, absolutely crucial. We can't even wait anymore. We're way behind schedule. We used to say we had 10 years. We don't have 10 years anymore. We got to move right now.